When COVID started shutting down major sports seasons, esports, the multi-million-dollar industry that it is, was not going to let this pandemic slow its progression. It didn't waste any time quickly taking advantage of what has been its foundation for years, the internet and the ability to play online. Overactive Media, located in Toronto and owner of three major esports teams, the Toronto Defiant of the Overwatch League, the Toronto Ultra of the Call of Duty League, and Mad Lions out of Europe, had to adapt quickly. Betham Jenkins, Director of Team Operations for North America at Overactive Media, says the shift to online was about a 3-week turnaround from a planned season where teams would be traveling to cities all over North America to play in front of fans live.
Yeah, I would say I think everyone in 2020, we were navigating change. And so a lot of the obstacles we had was really, first and foremost, the safety and health of our players were at its core. And we worked closely with all of our leagues to ensure that was really the priority. And so I believe around the time of March, the leagues went on hold for about 3 to 4 weeks. And they took that time to figure out how to pivot an online or a live activation league where we had about 20 trips planned for the rest of 2020, visiting all different markets across North America, Europe, and Asia. And then how do we pivot that to go back online? I think we were quite lucky to be able to still continue to compete online and still to have the leagues go as planned with a little bit of a modification to it. So, so that took about 3 to 4 weeks. And really for us, it's, okay, how do we emulate or create that competitive environment in a remote setting? And so those are the focuses for us in the early days in March and April.
With the building of anticipation for live events coming to Toronto for their home esports teams, the focus had to shift to keep the fans engaged as COVID changed the plans.
I would say for at least the market in Toronto and in southwestern Ontario is the first opportunity to really have a home team compete in front of fans, right? So and I think that's really the growth of this space is those live activations and growing the fandom that we have. It's such a highly engaged community, and so they're eager to watch us in person. So our marketing team, they ended up putting on a fantastic week-long event, and we created content remotely with our players, and so that was really beneficial. And to emulate that broadcast experience, we provided backdrops for our players in their apartments so that they had a professional look and feel. Same thing with their jerseys and uniforms. Everything we tried to do was so that it emulated what they would have experienced on the road. And then behind the scenes, what you don't see is really the competitive integrity piece of it. So making sure that they have cameras watching, and usually at a live event, you would check in with your equipment and making sure that all of that is done remotely with the competitive side of the league. So that was really interesting and a great solution, just working with all of our partners across the board.
The 2021 season for both the Overwatch League and the Toronto Ultra of the Call of Duty League are set to begin, and getting the players into Canada and settled before season play starts is in the works right now.
Right now, we have our Ultra in market, and we're working on getting the rest of our Defiant franchise in market ahead of the season. And really, it's like I said earlier, it's creating that environment that they will hopefully one day be back in, whether it's at the end of 2021 or in 2022. It's creating that live event feel and making them know what it feels like to be on a stage in front of thousands of fans, and that pressure that comes along with that. So for our Ultra players, it's been nice because we have quite a few returning members from last season. So they're familiar with the city, they're familiar with the organization, and they're familiar with the remote play. So I think, for us this year, it's really just continuing the building blocks that we started last year. for sure.
The future of esports is probably up, is, it's moving on its way to being something much bigger than it already is, and it's a really tight family. We kind of addressed that at the beginning. The fan base is super dedicated to the sport, to the teams, to following. You can't really get much by them. I follow some of it on Twitter, and you can't get much past the fans these days. What do you see the future of esports in Toronto, and how overactive media is set to, be a big role in the progression of the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just alluded to it. It's, getting those live events back into market, and not even just the games, but just any activations that we can do with our partners, with our players. I think, it really is our fans that we want to reward for following us in our early days, and really just engage with them as much as we can. And quite honestly, I think, as I was growing up in Southwestern Ontario and I was a huge basketball fan, just having a Vince Carter in that market, just, it evolved into a whole other generation of talent that came out of Canada. And really, I think that is our hope, and our strategy is that the live events also turn into possible path to pro career development opportunities for young esports athletes or enthusiasts that want to know what it takes to be a professional here in Canada and compete globally.